Okay, so now we know about Boolean, about true and false, we know about and, we know about or, we know about no, not, sorry, and so on. What we are going to cover today is the if statement, okay? So we are going to explore how it works and how to write that in terms of code in Python. And so after learning about Boolean and like true, false, and Booleans and so on, as I'm mentioning, and how to manipulate them, we are now ready to learn about control flow statements. So I was teaching you that because it's extremely important to move fast now, okay? So now what we will do, it's like how it's structured. Often, so it starts with condition. If we're talking about the if statement, so it starts often with condition and followed by a block of code called the clause. It's also called a block, okay? So the condition mainly is anything like between the parentheses, and the clause or the block is anything like underneath it, like so anything like and then inside of the statement of the if statement is the block, okay? Mainly, so this is the concept. So if now you want to write your code in Python, in terms of code, we have this an example, okay? So if statement is an important like uh, construct that is going to ask these questions. So there is a condition, and the condition is usually the question that mainly if we have the answer for that question, then we will decide, like we seen, in which like kind of path we are, which kind of path we are going to take. So if the answer to our question or the result, like it is giving true, for example, for a given action or for some like certain situation, so we are taking some decision. If the answer is false, so I am going to skip these actions, and so probably I am going to do something else. So I can specifically like exactly, I would say, decide or specify about which segment of code I want to do based on the condition, which is and between the parentheses in the if statement, okay? And I have like a chart again for you that can show you all like the steps, but I am keeping that to the end. And so I want now, maybe I will go through the code, and I want to mainly show you how it works in terms of code first, okay? So for example, I would use the example of last video where we had Troy and Abbott are going to host their morning show. So only if they are both available, so we were discussing about their availability, only when Troy is available, which is equal to true, and Abbott is available is also equal to true. So here in this case, we have our show, which is Troy is available and Abbott is available, could be equal to like true. Okay. Now the if statement is if this condition is going to be evaluated and is valid or equal to true, then we are going to execute the next like line or couple of lines or whatever coming next. And this is how mainly it works in Python. Okay, so mainly this is what until here we are covering last time. We're understanding within the condition what can happen. Now, as a plan of action, after that, like condition, how we will move forward, this can happen with the if like statement. Okay, so this is the way that we can do it in Python, and we can like have our code running this example for like, let's try to go for by char, and probably can try this example. Okay, let me just comment what we had from previous recording. And oops. Okay, and here we go. So for our example, we have our variables. So mainly we have Abbott is available, exactly like last time, and we are initializing its value to true. And also we have, sorry, we have Troy again available, and we are putting it, giving it the value true. Before like going to our if statement, okay, we are first going to like define the show variable, which is taking like both available, okay? So, and there is an and between, sorry, Abbott and true. Okay, that's good. Okay, now here, you know what? It's showing me this if is generated automatically. Okay, so usually there is a syntax to respect. So we have if it's showing in orange here, it's like a keyword, it's proper to Python. So we cannot name any variable if, for example. Okay, but after this, there is the it depends. It depends on our show in our case because we are creating this variable, and our show should be true. So in this case, for example, we are going to move on. So here we can use, and it makes it easier to put these parentheses to evaluate our condition. So all here we can see between the parentheses is the like condition, which we are going to check like true or not. If true, then we will move to the next line. If not true, then probably we will be jumping, okay? So I will show you what I mean by jumping. And you see when I am returning, I was pressing or clicking on enter in the keyword. So is jumping to the next line, but keeping this space. So this space, usually you can do it with the tab as well, but this, if you don't do, there will be an error, okay? If you don't do this space, so there is an error, whether like if you are not mentioning anything, or if there is no space, it considers that this is some line of code which not belonging to the like block where the if statement is like valid and that block is going to be executed, okay? So whatever I will write under the if after this given space or margin, or like I do it with a tab, for example, this is going to be happening if the answer to that condition is true, okay? Let's say in this case, what we expect, for example, we are expecting Troy and Abed are going to have their morning show, and let's say we will have Troy and Abed in the morning show, okay? Okay, so this is mainly what we can have. So now if I'm going to evaluate, now the condition is true or not? Let's see, ask the question. So this is true and this is true. So true and true, we know very well that it gives true. So this condition is true. And now it's supposed, if it's true, then yes, then we are coming to this, like at this point, and we are expecting for now to see this on the screen, okay? So let's try to run and check. Okay, this is what we got, okay? So if now I was mentioning right now the importance of this space with the tab. If now I don't do that, which means that, for example, I go and I delete that tab, so I try to print something else. print, I would say, welcome. Okay, let's leave the story of Troy and Abbott, and we suppose all this is not there, maybe, if this is not true, so we can expect it was tried to put that it's false. So if it's false, we expect this will not be running, and if we don't have this, so just rerun this. So we don't see anything, okay, which makes sense. This is what the condition. The condition is not valid, so whatever coming next within the if statement is not going to show or be printed. Now, as I'm mentioning, I will write something like not within the if statement, not with this tab. The difference between both prints, that this print is coming in a separate line without any space in here. So this print does not belong to the block of if, okay? So this one is going to be printed anyways, okay? In either case, if false or true, it's going to print. So let's see now. We are supposed to see, welcome to our Python coding course. So in all cases, this is something separate and dependent from the block. This is what I want to show you. So you need to be very careful about this, okay? And then, okay, what we say. So even if we try here, it's true, okay? We will see that it will execute this one. And after that, we will see also this one, right? Here is it. Okay, both of them. So what I think now we are trying all the possible like scenario. And so this is, I think, the way to demonstrate, I would say, the if statement and how it works. Actually, as I'm mentioning, this tab, it's the idea of indentation, okay? So the indentation level is in Python is very important. So when we come back to the line, it even happens automatically with the code. Otherwise, you need to make sure that you have that if you're copying, pasting from somewhere else, and the tab at some points, it does not come to your code. So you need to make sure that you have this indentation level. And also, so this tells the Python interpreter that, for example, I am like all done with this statement, which is, for example, this one done. Then you move to the next statement, which is not even belonging to the if statement, okay? Also, something else I would mention, if I try to forget or I try to delete, for example, the column after the if statement here, this can or will absolutely generate an error. So you need to make sure to not forget that column, because otherwise this is a very famous like error. So if here we try to imagine copying the code from somewhere else, so there is an if statement, but when the interpreter try next to understand what is within the if statement, which is happening with this indentation as levels that I'm explaining, it finds that nothing is in here. So this is why it's very important, and you must at least have one like line of code telling what is in the if statement. For sure, you can have many. You can have like many like embedded within the same like if and so on. This we can like discuss later, and mainly this is the idea for now, okay? Before moving, just probably I want to mention that some other programming languages do not use this like indent like or tab or this. What they use mainly is like that curly brackets, and between that you can find your code written. No, so it's not the case of Python, okay? Okay, so another way now that we can do this is I don't even need to show the variable at all, okay? So if you remember, like here we have the show, it's a variable that like kind of I'm defining, and here it's based on show. I am doing this double like equal sign and we mention again that double equal is like a question, is all this true or not? So we can just skip this line and just simply put all that within the if statement, okay? And so we can easily get rid from that entire line and just replace it with this line, okay? So probably the reason is because like why, just try to pause my video and think probably what could be the reason I try to avoid that line of the show, for example. Just think of it. Simple answer. Just it's very simple answer to reduce the number of lines of code, okay? Even that it's not practical, probably. If you have the show, you can probably call it later. If you will remove it each time you will use it, you will use Troy available and Avid available, okay? And if you will have make any changes, by the way, you need to make them wherever you have the name, all this like close together in the code. However, if you put it in one variable in the show, okay, you will have extra line of code, but the change can happen only in that line of code, okay? And so I think mainly this is fine. Just if you guys want, we can try it in Python as well. So I have no error here, I believe, so I don't want you guys to have this kind of errors. We are going mainly to have the same code. And the only change that we are going to delete is show variable. Oops, I would say I'm going to cut it, because instead of having it there, we will be only like having it here. Sorry, there is no evaluation. If we put it like this, mainly it's going to be evaluated straight. And so the idea is going again to comment all this. Oops. Yeah. Yep. Okay. And even if, for example, you're having some commented like parts, try while removing the comments, do not remove the spaces and so on. Otherwise, it will make some problems for you. Okay, what we have in here, so it's this one. If show if that shows equal now doesn't make any sense. We are not using this variable and we cannot even define. So you see here, it's going to generate an error, because if we have the like if statement, and here we need to write it must be a condition, and for the condition we need to answer the question. So here if you see anything, it's supposed to be double like equal, okay? We don't see things like it's equal to. So like this, just I'm going to run my code, and here we go. So I'm having the exact same result like before, okay? Fine. So how it works. Within this if statement, the Troy available and Abbott available and Troy available evaluates the Boolean value. And so anything between these parentheses is of like the if statements has to evaluate whether it will be having the value true or false. There is no other option. So if we have the value true, then we will go within the statement and we are going to read or like execute or interpret all this. If not, like this is false, we're not going to consider this and we're going to jump to the next like out of the code, out of that block. I mean, whatever like line of code we have. Okay, so the condition is anything between the parentheses, and the clause or the block is anything under it. And so anything indented inside of the if statement. So you can see that tab space. So you can have here, as I'm mentioning, probably multiple, like you can have multiple like treatments within this one. So I can mention that. Got it. So it's clear the idea. You will see. So if it's true, which is the case, so we are here within the block, and then we are done and we are out of the block. Okay, so mainly this is the concept or the idea. Now, if this one is false, if one of them is let's say false, what will happen if I'm going to run? So all this is not going to be considered because the if is not correct, it's false. So we are moving, we're not considering the whole block, okay? So this is how it mainly works. And let's say that a common error that you might face here again is, for example, you can forget the here, what you say. It's expecting this. So, okay, you can forget this. You can forget the ending itself, okay, as I'm previously doing. So here it's also we're going to run. See, it's the same problem. Okay, even that if I put that, that would also, it's not working. Saying expectant, okay, and then block after the if statement. So this is what is it like expecting, okay? So mainly I try to summarize all these errors in the last slide. So we have if try and abit available print. So here what we don't see is that space tab or indent. So this is the error, expect an ended block after the if statement. Otherwise, I can forget that, like to put the column in here, and it shows you that expected that column. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and so see you in the next video.